Climate change is one of humanity's most severe and urgent challenges. As can be expected from anything that has a worldwide impact, climate change and global warming are often shrouded in controversy and competing narratives. With that in mind, let's begin by understanding what exactly climate change is and what makes it so dreadful for our planet. The term climate change is used to denote the long-term changes in the weather patterns in a given region.
Welcome everyone to our panel discussion on one of the most urgent topics of our time, which is the climate change. I'm Christiana Lorraine Dandan, and joining me is my co-moderator, Apple Jane Arevalo. So today we have 8 panelists who will help us understand various aspects of this issue.
We'll cover key areas such as its causes, effects on biodiversity, economics, health, and what can be done to mitigate its effects. Let's get started with the first panelist.
Good day everyone, I am Sagira Piadakol, and my key takeaways is that every action counts. Climate change may feel like an enormous challenge, but small actions, when taken collectively, can lead to significant impact. Whether it's reducing our personal carbon footprints, volunteering, or raising awareness, we all have a role to play in this fight. So let's not underestimate the power we have as individuals and as a community. Thank you.
Another term often interchanged with climate change is global warming. Global warming is formally defined as a rise in Earth's temperature that persists for a decade or longer. There could be several causes for climate change, but the biggest one is the rising concentration of greenhouse gases. Simply put, greenhouse gases are those gases in our atmosphere that trap heat. Some examples include carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, nitrous oxide, and ozone.
Building on that, let us look at the consequences for ecosystems. Climate change leads to habitat destruction, altering ecosystems in ways that many species cannot adapt to. For example, polar bears are losing their ice habitat and coral reefs are dying from ocean acidification. This loss of biodiversity threatens not only wildlife but also human livelihoods, especially for communities that depends on natural resources.
Natural sources and human activities both result in the emission of greenhouse gases. One of the most common ways these gases get released into the atmosphere is through the burning of fossil fuels. Burning coal or oil to run industrial processes or giant factories increases the concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide. Indeed, fossil fuels' contribution to greenhouse gas emissions is the largest, in the range of 70 to 80% of total emissions.
Climate change significantly impacts human health.
rising temperatures increase the incidence of heat-related illnesses, particularly among vulnerable populations like the elderly and children. Furthermore, changing weather patterns contribute to the spread of diseases such as malaria and dengue fever. Extreme weather events like hurricanes and floods not only cause immediate injury but also lead to long-term mental health issues due to displacement and loss of homes.
Cultivation, industry, and other human activities also increases concentrations of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide. The share of changes in land use patterns represents 5 to 10% of all emissions. Carbon dioxide concentration is the highest among all greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Therefore, it is a significant contributor to global warming.
Climate change significantly impacts human health. Rising temperatures increase the incidence of heat-related illnesses, particularly among vulnerable populations like the elderly and children. Furthermore, changing weather patterns contribute to the spread of disease such as malaria and dengue fever. Extreme weather events like hurricanes and flood not only cause immediate injury but also lead to the long-term mental health issues due to the displacement and loss of homes.
The economic challenges are daunting, but many solutions are available. Our next panelist will dive into mitigation efforts.
Furthermore, oceans absorb almost 90% of the excess heat from the surrounding air, making it warmer. Although most of the heat is absorbed in the surface, as the rate of warming increases, the heat permeates to deeper waters and harms marine ecosystems. Sea level rise is caused primarily by water from melting ice sheets and glaciers, and the expansion of seawater as it warms. Satellite observations indicate that the sea height is increasing rapidly and will continue to rise at an increasingly rapid pace. The rise in sea levels negatively affects the populace of coastal areas. It also plays a role in flooding and leads to an increase in storms. Climate change also leads to changes in the frequency, intensity, spatial extent, duration, and timing of weather and climate extremes. Some extreme weather events include floods, droughts, hurricanes, and heat waves.
Hello. So this is me, Jen. For me, one of the most critical ways to address climate change is through a transition to renewable energy resources. Solar, wind, and geothermal energy can replace fossil fuel and reducing greenhouse gas emission. So technological innovation like carbon capture and storage can help mitigate damage. Additionally, adapting to energy efficient practices such as electric vehicle and sustainable agriculture will be the key to curing further warming. So yes, thank you. That's for my opinion. Thank you.
Role of government and policies. Government play a crucial role in fighting climate change. International agreements like the Paris Agreement set important targets of reducing emissions. On a local level, policies such as carbon pricing, subsidies for green technology, and regulation limitation emission can drive substantial change. However, political will is often a challenge, as short-term economic interests sometimes take precedence over long-term environmental health.
Thank you. It's clear that systematic change is necessary. Let's move on to the role of individuals in this fight.
While government action is critical, individuals also play a significant role. Small changes like reducing energy consumptions, using public transportation, and supporting sustainable products can have a cumulative effect. Advocacy and voting for leaders who prioritize climate policy also matter. Ultimately, individual choices influence the larger system by driving demand for sustainable products and services.
Lastly, we must talk about climate activism. Movements like Friday for Future, led by young activists, have successfully raised awareness and pressure governments to take action. Public engagement through protests, the social media, and education is key to keeping climate change at the forefront of global priorities. Activism amplifies the voice of those most affected by climate and urges quicker, more comprehensive action.
Thank you to all our panelists. We've covered a wide range of issues today, from the causes and consequences of climate change to solutions at every level of society. It's clear that addressing this crisis requires collaboration between governments, businesses, and individuals alike. The time to act is now. We hope you leave this discussion with a greater understanding and motivation to contribute to the fight against climate change.
Thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to stay informed, make sustainable choices, and get involved in your community to help create a more resilient and sustainable future. Climate change affects all of us, and together we can make a difference. Goodbye and stay safe.
Weather and climate extremes occur when the weather or climate metric is above or below a threshold value of the variable. Some of the changes in weather patterns include an increase in the number of warm days and nights, a decrease in cold days and nights, and an increase in the frequency and intensity of daily temperature extremes. As you can imagine, climate change or global warming doesn't happen overnight. These changes occur over decades or even centuries. Thus, it stands to reason that it's impossible to either stop or completely reverse its effects in just a few weeks or months. However, as a community, we could do many things to slow down global warming and eventually embrace ways to stop or reverse it. The first and most crucial aspect of recovery is awareness, namely understanding and spreading awareness about the risks associated with climate change. On a personal level, we could look at our transportation and power consumption habits. Since industrial and automobile emissions, along with the consumption of electricity, which is primarily generated by burning fossil fuels, are the most significant reasons for increasing carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere, rethinking these consumption patterns would make a measurable dent in our collective carbon emissions. Climate change is a real threat, but if we all come together, take a stand, and be more environmentally conscious in our decisions, we can still save our beautiful blue planet.